No enemies to the right. The left has long practiced the maxim, no enemies to the left. Isn't it high time the right practiced no enemies to the right? Isn't that the way to build a winning conservative and constitutionalist coalition? The answer to both those questions is no. For the whole modern notion of left and right has been rigged in favor of the left. To see this, all you have to do is look at a typical modern graph of governments, and it will have communism and socialism all the way to the left, and then fascism all the way to the right, as though they're opposites, when in fact they are all three forms of totalitarianism, total controlled society with a dictator or small group of elites playing God at the top. If you look more closely at this whole arrangement, you can see how illogical it is. For the more you go to the right under this graph, the more you go from conservatism to libertarianism and continue to move to the right, you have less and less government until you get all the way to the right, and then suddenly you jump from almost no government under libertarianism to total government under fascism. That makes no sense at all. It makes no sense because it's a lie. Fascism belongs on the far left with the rest of totalitarian governments. And don't be fooled by the fact that communists, socialists, and fascists all fight among themselves, because you have to remember they're always going to fight over who the dictator or ruling elite should be. What they agree on is that all of society should be planned and controlled from the top down in a way that locks all ordinary citizens on the bottom with no ability to change their plight. Now, to understand how we got this false notion of left and right, we have to go back to the French Revolution of the late 1700s. You see, in the French assembly of that day, those who were in favor of the revolution sat on the left, and those who were in favor of preserving the monarchy sat all the way on the right. So left and right became shorthand for two different forms of top-down government. Monarchy on the one hand, and Robespierre's revolutionary dictatorship on the other. And remember, his revolutionary dictatorship on the left sent tens of thousands of people to the guillotine. And it paved the way for a third form of top-down government under Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. So ordinary citizens were basically told to pick their poison. It really didn't matter much what they chose. So you see how this concept of left and right biases everything toward top-down totalitarian government of one form or another, with no practical difference between them for those living under them. With that in mind, we can see that no enemies to the left works for the left, at least conceptually, for they all want a top-down, fully managed, controlled society. But no enemies to the right does not work for the right, for the modern conception of the right lumps us together with those who want both strictly limited government and totalitarian government in the form of fascism. That's mixing oil with water, or perhaps we should say fire with gasoline. For the left uses this mixture to booby-trap and blow up the right. They use fascism as the boogeyman to scare people who are really gut-level conservatives into voting left. And that's all it takes to win an election. We need to un-boogeyman the right by calling out fascism as a leftist ideology and rejecting its modern proponents. Hitler is not the answer to Stalin or Mao or the World Economic Forum, or any other form of modern globalist elitism. The answer is rejecting every form of totalizing government and moving back toward the strictly limited government originally envisioned in the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence, under which the government cannot take away fundamental human rights because they don't come from the government. They come from God. So who belongs then in this conservative constitutionalist coalition? Who are we willing to stand and vote with? Well, a whole lot of people. Basically, anyone who has seen where the left is taking us and realizing that it's nuts. It's nuts to tell guys that they can be girls, complete with periods and pregnancy and women's gold medals. It's nuts to tell young teens to mutilate themselves so they can try to match their bodies to their momentary feelings. It's nuts to subsidize rampant illegal immigration to overwhelm American society and rig future elections. It's nuts to use free market economics as a cover to export huge segments of the American economy under arrangements that are not free market at all. And don't forget about the fully orchestrated COVID pandemic and the climate change hoax, both of which were direct moves for totalitarian power. Everyone who calls these things nuts are at least gut-level conservatives or constitutionalists, and we should be willing to stand and vote with them. That is a broad and winning coalition. But saying fascists belong on the right, or conservatives welcoming fascists, that's playing right into the hands of the left and helping them take us further toward the abyss of totalitarianism. Until next time, this is Pastor Allen reminding you that Jesus Christ is Lord. May His blessing and protection be upon you and your family.